Hi Maharani, my name is Ellen and I will be correcting these essays for you today. Let's see what you did here in this set. Okay, the number of households by income. You've got 3 years and you've got 5 different income brackets. Let's see. Okay. The bar chart classifies U.S. households into 5 income brackets for 2007, 11, and 15. Good. Put a full stop here. Overall, the highest income group exhibited consistent growth over the years. Let me see if that's correct. Well, it's not really correct. Look. So here, and then it fell, and then it increased. So I don't know if you can necessarily say consistent growth. I would actually disagree with that. While the other income brackets remained relatively stable for most of the period here. Okay. I mean, I think that this low one here, this white one, it experienced some growth, right? So, yeah, I'm not entirely in agreement with what you've included in this overview. Is that important? Well, yeah, kind of. Um, let's see. So, yeah, you could have done something like that. And maybe it was hard to find a consistent trend here because you do see some variation. Maybe you could have focused on something else instead. Maybe you could have said that the highest income bracket consistently had the most households, while the second highest consistently had the least. Okay. And that's accurate because, regardless of whether they increased or decreased over the time period, this is an overall fact. So this for me would have been a better piece of information to select. Okay. So again, I'm talking about this household, this bracket, this income bracket. Okay. And then the one that comes right before it, the 75 to 99,999. Um, you could have compared those, okay? And then we know that the rest of them, regardless of what changes, were somewhere in between, okay? So I think that's what I would have selected for my overview. All right, let's see. The greatest proportion of earners were in the families earning 100,000. Okay. Now, you're talking about proportion, but are we talking about percentages here? And the answer is no. It says the number of households. So you don't want to talk about proportions necessarily because this isn't in proportions. Okay, it's not in percentages or pie charts or anything like that. So talking about proportions is probably wrong. You want to talk about figures, numbers, etc. Okay. All income distributions followed a similar pattern in all periods. Here you need an S, with the exception being 100,000 and over income category in 2011. All right, what does that mean? I'm not really sure. Let's see. Where am I? Okay, the number of households in this category was less than those in the lowest earning group, which was around 26 million. Okay. However, by 2015, this number had increased to more than 30 million households. Similarly, those in the lowest income bracket saw a marginal increase in the number of households, accounting for over 25 million. All right, I'm a little confused here. So you said they followed a similar pattern, but I don't know what that pattern is, okay? Because you've decided to talk about this here. So I'm a little confused about what that pattern is. All income distributions followed a similar pattern with the exception of 100. Okay. I'm still not clear about what that sentence means. And then you said the number of households in this category was less than those in the lowest earning. Okay, barely, but fine. And then you're saying that it was 26 million. Okay. However, by 2015, this had increased. Okay. Similarly, those in the lowest marginal increase. Okay. So I'm not really a huge fan of the information you've chosen to select. I feel like you're focusing on a detail in 2011 and you're not really focusing on maybe the greater trends here, but let's look at your next paragraph. Those earning between 50 and 74, blah, blah, in all 3 years remained unchanged. Okay. With, not which, you keep saying which, with around 21 million, while around 14 to 15 million households had an income of this, recording the lowest number of households. All right, so I think your grammar is rather good. I mean, yes, there were some little mistakes that I had to correct, but for me, I'm not really in agreement with the information you chose to select. Okay. Um, let's see. I mean, there is quite a bit going on here. You've got 15 pieces of information, so you probably don't want to mention every single one of them, but let's talk about what you could do and what some of your options are. So, what I would do is I would have separated my detailed paragraphs into two paragraphs. In my first paragraph, I would have talked about that high and that low number. So I would have talked about how in 2007, the greatest number of homes made over 100,000, okay, at roughly 30 million. In contrast, the lowest figure was found in the 75 to 99,000 at half the amount of the 100,000 group, okay, in other words, 15 million. Then I would say, while the 75 to 99,000 group remained relatively stable, the highest earning group decreased somewhat. Okay, or you could say they both decreased um, slightly. Okay, and you could say what their figures were. All right, then you can say that in 2015, while the lowest group increased just a little bit, the highest earning group had a sizable increase, reaching approximately 33 million. Okay, so that would be one paragraph. Then, in the other figures, there's not a whole lot to talk about because you can see that this middle group is consistent. Okay, and the only real change here is with these two. So they start here, they raise, and then they drop slightly. Okay, so you could literally say that the middle earning group, 15 to 75,000, was consistent across the board at 20 million. Okay, and then you could say where it rose, where it started, where it went to, and then where it dropped. And that's it. Okay, so that's how I would organize it. And that's what I think was the problem here with selecting the right data. Did you have to talk about every single piece of data? No, not really. In fact, you could see when I talked about the Miller Group, I said that it was consistent at 20 million across all 3 years. Done. Okay. And you didn't have to get into all this detail here. All right. You could have said, you know what you could have done? You could have said that these two ranged between 25 and 30 million throughout the 3 years, with 2011 being the year where they rose slightly. Okay, and that's it. And that's a great way of giving information that is required, but not bogging down the examiner with too much detail. All right, so that's how I would have done this. All right, prisoners. They're the best people to talk to teenagers. Let's see what you did. 4 paragraphs. Okay. There is a contention that after release from prison, the associated felon. All right, let's get rid of some of this vocabulary. Get rid of associated, and then the word is felon, not felony, because you're talking about the person, not the crime. All right. Will become a better quality member in society, and they are the best option to communicate with young people regarding the negative impact of engaging in criminal activities. I completely agree with this idea because sharing information can deter people from, nope, being involved or becoming involved in crime, and also increase uh, a sense of awareness of doing the right thing. Okay. I like that you said they're the best option. I like that you were very clear about your perspective, so that's good. Let's see your body paragraphs. Former prisoners are considered the right channel to share information on. This is wrong vocabulary, not the engaging crime. I don't really know what you're trying to say here. Are the right channel to share information on criminal activity, maybe? Because this would increase conscientiousness. Individuals who have experienced the consequences of criminal behavior firsthand bring a level of credibility and authenticity to their message. I like that. That's great vocabulary. For example, a former prisoner can share their personal stories about the challenges they face behind bars, S, the opportunities, IES, they lost, such as being with their loved ones, and the effort it takes to rebuild their lives. This message is more impactful than just a theory, and thus the number of crimes would decline as teams have gained more awareness about the right thing to do with their lives. Okay, I like this, and you had some really good vocabulary. One thing I want you to do here, okay, would increase credibility. They bring a level of credibility, and where's that last one? Number of crimes would decline. So what you're doing here in this with this language is you're being very absolute. You're saying that these things will happen 100%, but you don't want to. You want to hedge. You want to be a little more gentle. So instead, because it could increase conscientiousness, they may bring a level of credibility. This message may be more impactful. Okay, the number of crimes could decline. Okay, so you're opening up the possibility that, yes, this is what I am saying, but this is not 100% what is going to happen, and that's the end of the story. All right, so you want to be a little more gentle, a little gentler, and hedge. That's what we call this kind of language here. Okay. All right, so another reason why prisoners are the best people to chat with teenagers is to deter. I understand that. Another reason why prisoners are the best people to chat with teenagers is to deter them from committing crimes. Well, I think that's the whole point. So I don't really understand this sentence. Teenagers are more likely to learn with someone they can relate to rather than authority figures like teachers or police officers, whose warnings might seem very theoretical and preachy. I like that word. It's a little informal, but it's good. For example, television programs such as Sacred Straight, where the ex-offenders tell the youths the appalling facts of life in prison, have provided positive impacts for youth as a deterrent to involve. Not you're using involve wrong. To get involved in any criminal activity. Okay. Um, this paragraph feels a little weaker than the other one. I really like the other one. This one, I feel it's missing some information. I feel like there's more you could have said here. I almost feel like you didn't really know what to write in terms of ideas. And so it feels a little flat compared to the other paragraph. We'll talk about that, though, as soon as we finish your conclusion. In conclusion, letting the ex-prisoners share information can discourage juveniles from being involved in crime and also increase awareness of the detrimental impacts of criminality. And I therefore agree that providing law-abiding ex-prisoners with a way to communicate with young people is, because it's one thing, providing law-abiding prisoner with a way to communicate. It's one thing. All right. So it should be is the best medium to talk about the dangerous crimes. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, so I didn't love this paragraph because I felt in many ways it I don't know, I felt like it kind of felt like a repeat and you really weren't getting into any depth. So here you were talking about conscientiousness, you were talking about um basically their message being impactful, the things they lose, there's credibility. And then here you're basically saying the same thing, but you know what you could have done here? I think you were on the right track with the teachers or police officers. So you know what? You could have changed around the perspective, because what I thought was that you didn't really say anything new, not really, at least. It felt like a little repetitive, and there wasn't really any substance to this paragraph. Like it needed a little more depth. So what you could have done is you could have said something like, traditionally, police officers and teachers are believed to be the best people to speak to young people. However, clearly this is not the case, because their message often sounds preachy and inauthentic and theoretical. Okay. For example, and then you can talk about why this is the case. And then you could say, in contrast, a message coming from somebody who has, really done the hard time, comes off as much more believable, much more persuasive, and is a much more effective tool than whatever an authority figure can say. All right. But then again, you have to be really careful, because you talked about credibility and authenticity here. So when you're talking about this paragraph, maybe you should talk about who is generally thought of to be good people, but really they just fall short. So that's what I would have explored. I would have explored this idea of who's not such a great person to do this, okay, and why, in fact, that makes the prisoners the best people. So that's what you could have done here to boost up the task achievement, I think. All right, so it's a good set. I see a lot of nice elements, but I also do see a lot of things that need work. So I really want to invite you to take a look at the different ways that we can work together. The essay correction packages or the online course. I think either one would be a good option for you. But the essay package for sure is, easy and quick, and you can get through it relatively quickly if your exam is coming up, and we can continue to work together, and we can give you feedback for your essays. All right, so take a look at the options that exist, and I hope we get to see more of your work in the future. Good luck.